Grab your brush and get a drink, a cup and some water from the sink. But don't you drink that paint water, it's painting with men of John. So grab a seat and get in chat, 'cause John O. Spencer is one cool cat. You get exactly what you pay for, it's painting with men of John.
Well, hello everybody, it's Friday night. This is not your normal Painting with Menoth John, obviously. This is one of the Friday night painting sessions that I've done in the past, and we are going to go ahead and we've got the chat room open. We're going to put a little snow on the Mountain King tonight, or the Glacier King, I should say. So I thought that rather than have this particular process kind of go out into the ether and nobody ever sees it ever again, I thought I'd go ahead and do this, and we'll see how it goes, and see who joins us in the chat room tonight. Feel free to log in and follow along. I was listening to some White Moon Dreams chat things going on in there, so we'll see if anybody decides to turn in tonight. Having a little bit of Line of Cool's Pale Ale, doesn't suck. Let's get on over to the painting cam, because that's why we're here tonight. So here we are. And I should probably give a little bit of explanation of how we got to where we are. First I got to take this label off of here. This is the star of tonight's show. This is Secret Weapon Miniatures Scenics Crushed Glass. So we're going to see how all this goes. Let's see here. Nope, almost knocked over my microphone there. Let's see here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, and we still don't have any viewers, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and check the old viewer list here and see if anybody's bothered to come on. Maybe there's somebody who's excited to see that I'm doing something, but nope, not yet. So a bit of explanation for those of you who are watching this on the YouTubes. This is my Glacier King. Since the last time we saw it, a few things have happened. Last time we saw it, there was no basing on it at all. And what I did was, I started off with a little bit of Elmer's Clear Glue. And that's this stuff right here. And what I did is I used a paintbrush to go ahead and just kind of paint the base with the glue. And not a whole lot, don't need a whole lot. And then I used my favorite kind of sand that I use, which is the ridiculously overpriced Citadel sand. But I've been using it for so long that it's just kind of what I use. And I went ahead and put that in. This is a long process, as it turns out. Then I went ahead and, so that got in there, I put it in the sand bath, let it sit, shook it all off, let it set up overnight so that I would get a good, even amount of sand on there, get it all nice and hard so it wouldn't come off. Hey, welcome. There's somebody watching now. Yay. Let's see who's in the viewer chat room here. Doesn't show. Anyway, well, if you're watching the show, make sure to jump in the chat room there at twitch.tv, and maybe we can have a little chat. But so just kind of going over how we got here. Now, what I did is after that's set up, then I took some Woodland Scenics artificial water. Well, actually, before I did that, what I did was I'm going to tilt the model here so maybe you can see a little bit better. Actually, the shadows are pretty horrific. There we go. That's not bad. And what I did was I initially painted the bottom with a color that is known as Royal Blood. This is from the Minotaur line. So what's nice about that is because it's dilute and it's an airbrush paint, I went ahead and that allows it to stay wet a little bit longer. Then I came back in my wet palette back here and I took some P3 Frostbite and started mixing those two colors together and basically did a wet blend starting from the inside and working my way out. And that's how I kind of got that little gradient that you see there. So that the darker ice is actually a darker color than along the beach. Thought it looked kind of good. So then, after that dried, I went ahead and I poured down some Woodland Scenics artificial water, and I let that set up for 24 hours. And it's really important you do it for 24 hours so that you get a chance for it to get good and hard. And then what I did was, in order to make the ice, the cracked ice, because You know, very infrequently does a frozen lake actually have perfectly smooth ice. You want to have some cracks in it. So what I did was I took, with the wet palette once again, this is the power of the wet palette, went ahead and diluted some, put some frostbite on there, and I went ahead and pulled it from the very edge so that it got a little bit of dilution from the water in the wet palette. And what I was doing was drawing a line, and then just the kind of the natural unsteadiness of my hand allowed it to kind of pull down. And you know, while I'm sitting here standing over the top of it from like all of 8 inches, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good, and I like it. And I guess at the end of the day, that's what matters. And after that, what I did was I went ahead and put in. Oh, the one person viewing is me over on the other monitor. So we're gonna go ahead and close that one off, and we'll see if anybody decides to come. And Robert Dureski was asking me. He's the guy that I watched a video of how to do this on YouTube, and he's the one that recommended this product to me. So we're gonna give it a shot. Okay, so we're gonna put my beer away over here, so it's not in the way and it doesn't get glass in it. And then what he recommended was, so the next step here is I've taken the sand, because the sand itself is too light a color. Oh, hey, Munova. Thanks, buddy. Good to see ya. Kids are looking good, by the way. Congratulations on them. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to... This probably is starting to get pretty dry. I'm going to go ahead and the next step on this thing is I'm going to take some Menoth white base, and we're going to go ahead and dry brush a little bit. And I'm going to dry brush on the sand to just kind of bring it up a little bit lighter, so that you have a little bit of a contrast between the light and the dark. And we're going to go ahead and start that right now. So we'll just take a little bit of the... We're going to take a little bit of this here and just kind of put it on this paper towel, because I don't really need a whole lot. And we'll put this off to the side. Cap it back up. All right. And we'll see... That's soaking right into the old... That's soaking right off into the old napkin there. So that was probably a poor choice on my part. All right, so now I've got a little bit of dry brushing. We're going to have to take and do this a little bit differently. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and do some more dry brushing here. And this is just strictly just a normal dry brush application. Although this brush that I'm using is a little bit small for this application, so we're going to get a little bit bigger one. All right, let's see what we can do. Maybe we should do this with the other end of this brush. Get it nice and dry. Flip this bad boy over, so I have a nice dry area to work with. And let's go ahead and just load this thing up a little bit. Get some happy little white paint on it. And we're just going to do a bit of dry brushing. Trying to figure out a way to do this so it doesn't, so that everything that I'm doing doesn't get blocked by the camera. Maybe we brought the camera over to the other side. Let's see if that works. Come on, there you go. Come on, get over it. Let's try this. Okay, so we'll get a little stuff on the brush here. Boy, this stuff isn't dry brushing worth a tinker's damn. Okay. There's a little bit of paint there, but it's not applying terribly well to the actual sand itself. Not seeing a huge... well, thank you for the compliment. They're Gadget Junkie. I'm pretty pleased with how this has turned out so far. Kind of overdid it in the front, but you know, where I overdid it there a little bit, you know, that's just a happy accident. And we're going to go ahead and we can always wash that back down a little bit. Well, thank you. See, it's getting a little bit more of what I'm trying to accomplish here now. Ooh, this is eating up the I don't know, it's probably because of the way the brush that I'm using that is soaking up so much of the paint. But let's see here. Let's keep it in the sunlight here and see what we're doing. Okay, keep on dry brushing the sand here. And it's just, this is just a rough dry brushing. You know, we're not trying to do anything too crazy here. It's just when you put the Agrex Earth Shade on there, and I do need to clean that up a little bit. That's went a little crazy, go nuts on that one. We'll hit some of this area around it so it's not so shocking compared to the other areas. But it is pretty light. Now the reason for tonight's little impromptu painting podcast is that I need to put some snow on this guy. And I'm going to do this artificial snow. And I'm going to put it on the base. And then I'm going to see if I like it. And then if I'm feeling really gutsy, then I'm going to put some of it on him. But to be honest, he's turned out pretty well so far. And I would prefer not to screw him up. So we're just going to keep on dry brushing a little bit here. And you know, you got to be a little sensitive to the fact that there's shadows underneath here, and you don't want to eat up all those shadows. You can always go back and wash them a little bit more. But trying to get a good look. The lighting for how I'm doing this is not awesome. I'm trying to get a feel for how he is. All right. Well, the other thing that I know I'm going to do on this model is I know I'm going to be putting, if you ever look at how ice and snow happen on a lake, it tends to pile up a little bit right along the shore. And I think that's because of how the wind action happens and stuff like that. So we're going to stop doing the dry brushing now. And we're going to we'll close off this paint. And the next step is where all this starts getting a little hairy. And that is I need to mix up this artificial crushed glass snow. Now, Robert Durevsky, who is flight medic, some of you may know from watching the show. And if you're new to the show and you haven't watched Painting with Menoth John, normally run this as a painting show on Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Central, 6:30 for the pre-ramble where we kind of goof around and stuff like that. And what he recommended is this product from Secret Weapon, Scenics, and it is a 2-part system. It is it's a crushed glass, and I'm wearing gloves. They recommend that you wear gloves, and you wear a dust mask for this. So I'm going to put my gloves on. And the reason being is that crushed glass is... Oh, it's the wind and heat absorption during the daylight hours on the ground. Got it. And that's why it always piles up on the shoreline. Cool. I've got myself a dust mask right here. Boom. It's got a valve on it so that it'll actually breathe a little bit. Gotta take my earphones off a little bit to do this. And I'm going putting this thing on. All right. Okay, so I'm all suited up. I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looked like here. Hi, everybody. Got my safety whatnots on, and we're going to go ahead and go back to the painting cam. And I'm using that, and then I'm going to use an old paintbrush. This paintbrush is completely effing hosed. I think I'd like something with a little bit of bristle to it. See if that gets a little bit better. Yeah, this will work. Yeah, this is otherwise a garbage brush. That one's completely trashed. Okay. So what they say to do is to not shake this up, and I'm just going to put. I'm going to need a fair amount of it, so I'm going to kind of cover the very bottom of it a little bit in this stuff. And I've got a whole bunch more of this over there, and it's the same stuff I used more or less on his on the base here. And then I'm going to go ahead, and they say just to kind of shake it on here. And the ratio that you use is more based on what kind of snow you want. All right, that's all I'm going to go for that for this time. I can always make more. And the resin itself takes a fair amount of time for it to dry. So, all right, so we're going to go ahead and I'm going to tilt this thing down here a little bit. And I'm going to try not to knock the thing over. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mix this together. And I'm going to try to make it makes like a snow slush. Interesting consistency this is. It's like wet sand. And I think I want more glass in there. See how this goes. I'm probably going to end up wasting a ton of this stuff. But we'll see how it happens. Oh, see, now this is getting a lot more like the kind of snow like you'd see here in Wisconsin. Okay. All right, so we're going to take some of this, and we are going to start applying it to Big Daddy here. Okay, so we're going to start with applying some to the ridge line here. And, you know, snow's kind of random and stuff, so we'll just go ahead and put it all over the place here. We're going to continue doing this. Now, see, the thing is about this, about the this brush, is that it has like no structure now, and I don't think that's what I really want. And I'm just going to pile this up to kind of hide that interface line a little bit between the water and the snow. I'm going to try and keep the snow off that toothy thing there. And we're going to lay it down, at least initially, along the interface here between snow and water. We're going to put some on his feet, because, you know, he's a glacier king. He's going to get to down and dirty over here. And it's probably going to pile up around his feet a little bit. Because, you know, he's stepping around. He's not caring what he's doing. Okay, we're going to keep on going here. It's got an interesting consistency. I don't think I made too little, to be honest with you. We're going to lay this down right along his feet. And we're going to try and cover up some of this area over here too. Ooh, that got all up on his feet. We'll see how that goes. Okay, I hate this brush, so we're going to switch to a different brush. And we're going to pick one with a little bit more structure to it. Let's try this one, a fan brush, and we'll just kind of shovel it. Snow, right? You shovel snow. Okay, we're going to go ahead and shovel it along in here. Now, it's not going to be everywhere on the base. We're just going to kind of shovel it along here on the sides where I think it's going to be. And, you know, his cloths and stuff are kind of dragging as he would have been approaching this lake. And so we're not going to... Oops, that got a little interesting there. One thing I am going to do before I stop putting this stuff on here is I'm going to go back and I'm going to clean up the base. Along the edges. Because I don't want it to look messy at the base, where the base is. Keep shoveling this snow. We'll have a little area here where the snow meets the sand. And we'll have some darker spots here. And what's interesting about this is that it does take a very organic feel to it. You know, kind of, the resin itself spreads out a little bit. It kind of settles. And I like that. It gives it a more natural look. We're going to put a little bit more sand here along the water. Especially along here. See if we can't put a little bit more here on the tip of the brush. There we go. Now that's a little bit lumpy there, so we're going to knock that down a little bit. And I'm just trying to shoot for a very organic look to it. Okay, so... Alright, so I think that we're in a pretty good... Oh, hey, thanks, Daisy X, for hosting me. There's more people watching now. Welcome, anybody who's watching it on Daisy X. Now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to clean that up a little bit because I don't think that... You know, you don't want sharp corners because snow isn't like that. Now, whoa, nor is snow like punching it in the face. So let's get some close-ups here, see if I can't help you see what this looks like. So, it's... What this is supposed to dry out... Excuse me, gosh, I'm burping right into the microphone. What this is supposed to dry out to look like is snow. So we're, you know, it's an overnight process. We'll see how it looks when it's dry. If it doesn't turn out just exactly like how I want, what I can do is I can sprinkle a little bit of my other snow that I usually use on there. And hopefully the camera here can focus a little better. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Nothing else. It looks like someone shot goo all over him. So, you know, whatever. It's all good. He's still going to look good. And, you know, we're going to wash out all these parts here. And we'll see how that all works out. Now, I might take a little bit of fresh glass and just a pinch, and just pinch it right over the top. That's what I'm going to do. That's a good idea. Kind of just give it a little bit of extra crystally stuff there just on the surface. Nobody told me to do that, but I'm going to try it. And then what we're going to do after, you know, after this dries is then we'll just kind of, if there's any extra on it, we'll just, you know, blow it off. It's okay. Maybe it's a little wasteful. Who cares? Just just experimenting. It's just a model, you know? Now, one thing I do need to be careful of is that tomorrow when I come down here that I take care to be very careful how I take the this glass off of here, because it is glass. It's like asbestos when as far as getting in your lungs. You don't want any of that. Boy, am I liking this. Okay, I think this was a key tip here that I just did there with that little bit of extra, just a pinch, rolling it back and forth. I think that's going to be a big deal when it comes time to how this model turns out. Okay, we're just going to keep on adding just a tiny little bit. Okay. Like it. Liking that a lot better. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and put that up. Now, one thing I know I want to do, first off, clean these brushes off, because they will just be absolutely dead in the water if I don't. And then I think what I want to do is wipe it off with a little bit of a moist, worst word in the English language, by the way, with just a little bit of water here. And I'm just going to wipe off the edges a little bit. Just going to give that just a little bit of love. I'm just going to come around the side here. That's good enough. That is good enough right there. We're going to push this guy back. And then we're going to take... Whoops. Doing it again. All right. Get the old garbage bucket here. And we're going to try and wipe some of this off of here as best we can. And I think we're done screwing with Mr. Glacier King for the night. Is there any questions? Are you using the same snow on the Mini and the base? It seems like having the two be coherent would help the look. So the original plan is to have the snow on the Mini, which is this stuff up here, be the same as this down here. This is the first time I've ever used this product, so I'm kind of in the feeling it out stage. I don't disagree with you. The original plan is to come back and do the same snow up here as well, but I want to make sure I like it. And this is simply painted. This is just a painted on color. So this is Frostbite on a Minotaur product called Royal Blue. So I airbrushed the Royal Blue, and then I came back with a reasonably dilute version of the Privateer Press Frostbite color, this stuff right here, and just I just basically applied it with a brush, a good-sized brush, mind you, a number 2 or number 3 brush, probably number 3 brush. And yeah, I figured that I would test it on the base first, just so that I could kind of get used to it. It's a little bit easier to get in there. There's some relatively tight spots up in through here that have the snow on it, and I wasn't sure. It'll benefit from having this stuff on it, I promise you that. It looks pretty good on this on the webcam, but when you get up close to it, you can see some of the imperfections, mostly due to the some flaws in the model, to be honest. The kit that comes from Privateer, they have a number of issues with their organics. In other words, like their beasts like this one, where they don't do a terribly good job on the resin of casting it, and you end up with a lot of open spaces. So, time for some more beer. Drinking Leinenkugel's Pale Ale tonight. I'm probably going to take this dust mask off so I can breathe a little bit better. I mean, I'm done mixing this stuff, so I should be okay. I should be safe to do that now. And then what I'm going to do so that I don't end up, with a bunch of irritation from the glass shards, I'm going to take and bring a wet, like Clorox thing in here and just kind of wipe down and make sure I get all the glass off of it rather than worry about that. So I think that's what I'm going to do here tonight. We've got, there's a little bit of stuff on, a little schmutzig on here, but that'll dry up. This glass is insidious. It's really everywhere. It no matter what you try to do to it, it gets there. The model itself I painted beforehand, and it's going to be. I went ahead and I sealed it before we did this. So I've been working with some larger organic minis recently as well. I managed to make one of my best projects from one. Yeah, I mean I'm pretty happy with this, to be honest. This is one of the nicer models I've ever painted. I don't know if you're a regular viewer of the show, but hope you will consider joining on Sunday nights, 7 p.m., Painting with Menoth John. I drink and paint and stuff like that. We're going to be painting some Guild Ball, which is a fun miniatures game that I play. So we'll be doing some of that this week. In addition to showing, hopefully, the last stages of this thing, I'm pretty happy with how it's turned out. You know, it's not perfect, but, you know, what are you going to do? This is my first try at it. Oh, semi-regular. Well, that's it. Well, hey, Ron. So, anything else we want to do tonight, guys? Or should we just call this a applying snow tutorial? I wonder if I turned off the lights, if this would be a little bit easier to look at. This might be a little bit easier to look at. There we go. That is a little bit easier without that light on. You can kind of get a feel for it more. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Now, according to my friends, as that resin dries, it's going to give it a more snowy type of a look to it. So, hopefully that will turn out that way. See who else is in the chat room other than Daisy X. Let's see what we got here. Broken Cogs, Gadget Junkie. We got Mighty Tin Robot, Shibby Shoe. Thank you for hosting me, by the way. Really appreciate that. So if there's not anything else, I think we'll probably call this a show for what it is. And if you want to check out more of this, get on over to YouTube. Look up Menoth John, MENOTHJOHN. And if you enjoyed this, come in on a Sunday night. Watch the Sunday night show. See if you like it. Get on over to the Patreon. Help keep the lights on. We'll see you next time on Painting with Menoth John. See ya.